All right, welcome everybody, Facebook Live audience out there. It's the weekly segment of I Got My Miracle. I'm the host this week, our Christian Minson, and we're basically just waiting for people to show up, as I am talking to nobody right at the moment, except for Asen. Asen just joined, excellent. So 2 people, 3 people. I wait for about 50 people to show up before I really get started. So those who've seen me on here before, you know the routine. Say hello in the chat bar. Send me a little hearts or likes if you like, just until we can get started. Mary, hey Mary, Dave, good, Jordan, Adam. Some of you may be wondering why I'm here. Gerry should be here. I think I did it for Gerry last week, and I'm doing it again for him this week. He's been out of town all week. I promise you that I won't be doing it next week, all right? At least the I Got My Miracle segment. And I reminded people yesterday that I wouldn't be the one doing the breathwork Facebook Live on Friday either. I will be out of town. But Gerry will be back in town. I can't guarantee that he will be the one doing it, but I can guarantee you that I won't be. So just sitting here waiting. Hi. People say hi in the chat bar. And we're getting up to 35, 36, 43, almost there. While we're waiting, I'll do our weekly plug. Almost there, 47. I'll do the plug now, and hopefully we're up to 50, 48. Ship the Moon said, did you get your copy yet? This is Gerry Kyle's book. Oh, we just jumped from 48 to 58, so we're official now. But Ship the Moon said, great book by Gerry, all about his conversation with the moon that basically created this place, Rythmia. So welcome. This segment this week is I Got My Miracle. I'm your host, our Christian Minson, the resident breath work director here. Gerry is still away this week, so I'm the one filling in for him. As I mentioned earlier, if you weren't on yet, that's I won't be the one doing it next week. I can't guarantee that he's the one doing it, but he will be back and I will be gone. So this week we decided to do a breathwork edition of I Got My Miracle. I'm framing this with the understanding that starting May 13th, we will be doing 1 week a month. 1 week out of every month of Rythmia will be pure breath medicine. That's doing the breathwork every night of the week instead of the plant medicine. This serves a different portion of the population, and then those of you who have been here before that really got a lot out of the breath work, we want to encourage you to come experience this breathwork week. For those of you who are disappointed in that this won't be fully about the plant medicine, I will be posting an alternative interview if you so desire to watch it. I recommend you watch both. I recorded this one last week. He was supposed to be my special guest, and there was a mix-up of schedules, and so we did a recording after the fact. I'm going to post that. I didn't want to post that while this one was going on, so we weren't in competition. But if you really don't want to watch this, hang out somewhere for an hour and then come back, and you'll see that one posted on. So I Got My Miracle today is really talking to somebody who got their miracle this week at Rythmia and just getting a unbiased, unfiltered interview here about what that experience was like. Let me introduce to you Daniel Hansen from Lincoln, Nebraska. Perhaps besides Nicole Rager, who is our other resident breathwork trainer here, he may be the only other person from Nebraska to visit us here. So this is leading the charge there, huh? Yeah, so welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, so Daniel, we decided let's just get right into it. We talked a little bit before, and I mentioned to you that that this segment, we wanted to focus a little bit more on the breath work. And you were a perfect candidate because you really got some profound experiences in the breathwork this week. And I'll frame this for everybody out there too, that the way the program works here, we have 7 ceremonies. The first 1 or 2, depending on when you arrive, are breath ceremonies. That eases you in, generally speaking, into the plant medicine ceremonies, which happen Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And then the end of the week, Friday and Saturday, 1 or 2 again, depending on when you leave, you get a couple more breathwork ceremonies. And ideally, those are really bookends to the intensive plant medicine ceremonies. But a lot of people, including yourself, announce or report that they have just as powerful experiences in the breathwork, and sometimes even more powerful. Mm-hmm. So I thought you were a great candidate because straight out of the gate, so you arrived here what day?
On Sunday.
You arrived here on Sunday, and so Sunday you get here, you get all packed, unpacked and all, and the mm-hmm. first ceremony happens at 5:30, breathwork. Mm-hmm. Something happened to you straight out of the gate there. So let's hear what went on.
Yeah. So I did yoga first.
So yoga does happen before breathwork, so that gives you a chance to loosen up. Very good.
Yeah. But yeah, it was. So I was telling Christian earlier. So I've been meditating for a while, and so I wasn't expecting with the breath work really to get any big transformations. One of my intentions this week was to just experience something outside of the normal realm of what I know to be true and what I know to the reality that I currently live in. And so I wasn't expecting to get that during breath work. I thought breath work was, I've heard in these past videos that breath work can be just as powerful, but
somehow I didn't click. And what did you think breathwork was going to be?
I thought it was just what it was, essentially just a certain breathing technique that. But I didn't think breathing could take you into altered states of consciousness. I didn't see why or how it could.
Yeah, we've been breathing all our lives.
We've been breathing all our lives, right? And I've been told. And so I've been told to breathe from the diaphragm and how helpful it is in life and stuff. But as far as just getting more oxygen to the brain, but the first night I became aware of my energies and my body in a way that I've never been aware of before. Through the breathing, my hands and my legs and my feet got very heavy and very energetically charged, which to me at that point I didn't know what that was like. And I did a lot of work this week on getting reintegrated with my body and getting in tune with my body. Mm-hmm. So that was a really good first step in acknowledging my body and feeling my body, knowing that my body has a lot more in it than I thought it did.
So when you say energetically charged, sort of describe that sensation, that feeling.
Okay, so the hands and feet supposedly are out. I learned this week are outlets for energy to come out of, mm-hmm. and so I think when you're breathing, doing that, I think I felt the energy, the I don't know how to explain it. So
life force.
Just kind of moving, circulating through my body into my extremities, into my hands. So it almost got heavy in a way. It almost got unbearable. The amount of weight isn't the right word, but intensity. It almost got unbearable. So that intensity is a good word. That got stored up in my hands and feet and stuff. And so you want me to talk about the movement of that?
Yeah. Well, so the process, for those who don't know, so we go through this breathing process, which is basically a circular pattern of breathing. We spend about an hour doing this where full inhale, a very relaxed exhale, and a continuous circular flow. Through this process, then different things can happen physically, emotionally, spiritually. Mm-hmm. So you're talking specifically about some physical effects about when into it. So I said we do this for about an hour. Can you recall
Yeah.
about how long into it you started to feel these changes and these sensations?
Yeah, probably 20 minutes in.
20 minutes in, you started feeling. Yeah. Did it come on as like tingling? Did it come on?
Tingling is a good word. Yeah. So it started as a tingling and then very intense tingling, which then got heavy. It got heavy. So almost like where there's so much going on that you had to let it out. But yeah, it was about, I would say about 20 minutes in, and then there was probably 10 or 20 minutes that I was somewhere else from that experience. But I didn't expect it either. I couldn't tell you where I went, but I wasn't completely there. And because you're consciously having to, they're coming over and checking you. Christian and the other helpers are making sure that you're breathing the right way. So I was aware of that. I was aware of my breathing very well for the first 20 minutes, but then it got to the point where I was more aware of my body than I was about breathing the perfect way, the specific way that I needed to.
Yeah, which is okay. You want to, the breathing gets you into the state of starting to perceive different things.
And then you stay there. It's not like you have to keep breathing perfectly the whole time. Yeah.
All right on. So tell me a little bit about this place you went then. What was that like? What was
all I know, I can tell you more about my second breathwork ceremony, about like where I went and what that was actually like. I don't know that I was aware in the first one. Yeah, I definitely transcended this reality in some way. And then I became aware of the energy, and I was like, oh man, I gotta get this energy out of me, but then I would do something and then I'd kind of slip back into that place of just,
describe the place. Was it just, blackness? Was it just,
there wasn't visual. I would say, the only word I can maybe use is the pure consciousness state of just being, the place of just being.
Mm-hmm. And so, what emotions came along with that? You were just being, were you calm and tranquil, or you agitated, or you? I
think there was. I didn't perceive any emotion here, but there were people crying in the room, which I thought was interesting. But what I did feel was there was a point where I was in that pure consciousness state, and then I started breathing really heavily, and it was almost like my body was breathing me, and I couldn't quite tell. I didn't want to stop it because I knew it needed to happen, but it was getting really intense, and it was towards the end actually, and someone had to come over and kind of help me get out of that. But that was kind of weird because I'm usually very in control of my body and my the way that I'm acting and the things that I'm doing, but I wasn't in control in that situation, and that was very intense.
So how did that feel, not being in control? Because this is one of the, I think one of the benefits is to help us let go of control. That we both come from a control freak society, where give us a little bit of control and we'll take, give us an inch and we'll take a foot, basically. That often shows up in people's breathing patterns where they're very controlled in their breath, and that shows that everything in life you got to manipulate and control so it just doesn't go the wrong way, and that leads to pretty tiring life. You're always got to be vigilant. You always got to be in right there to make sure things don't go awry. And when you can finally just let go of control, magical things can happen. But it can sometimes be a sensitive shift point when you're used to having control, and then all of a sudden it's taken from you, or you don't feel in control anymore. You speak it all to that, and just what was going on inside you at the time, good, bad, or ugly.
Yeah. Well, it was exhilarating. To have all of that, to be in that place where I became my body as a separate consciousness than, can I use that language, than I am. Aware that there was stuff in there that I wasn't conscious of, and that it was moving unconsciously without me moving it. And so that felt really good. And I don't think scared fear was really present. I mean, there might have been something coming up in that, that almost hyperventilating state. But what I felt afterwards, I can speak to, was just pure happiness. And for quite some time, I was in a euphoric state after that, and I could talk freely. There was I've done a lot of work this last year on just being okay with myself and being okay. But I felt like this was a group that we'd hardly met each other yet, but I felt okay just to talk about my experience, raise my hand and say, hey, this thing happened to me.
So that's fairly unusual for you? Or?
Well, there would be a hesitancy there, but there was none there because I think I let go of control in that session.
Your hand shot up?
It did. It did shoot up. Let me tell you about my experience. Yeah.
Right on. So this is literally the very first day. I mean, you're not even 24 hours here at Rythmia, and you start getting, you start having these experiences.
Mm-hmm.
What was going on in your mind at that point? Did you say, holy cow, what am I in for? Or, hey, I kind of like this. What was the thought after,
I
didn't expect this at all?
Right. Well, I was excited. That made me excited because I think we all kind of worry that we're the one exception that this stuff isn't going to work for. Even in my meditations at home, I'm like, okay, I have to get right in this right space, do this just the right way in order for this to work. If I don't do this just right, then it's not going to work. It's not going to do its job and stuff like that. So what was your question? How did that frame? Okay. So I think that just made me excited to see what could happen if I can do that with just my breath. What can happen when I do the plant medicine, and so excitement, happiness, a lot of happiness, which then carried over into the week in my ceremonies.
Good. So you pretty much the initial breath session framed your whole experience in happiness.
In happiness,
and
in surrender, and in surrender, and in letting go and realizing that I'm not in control of this process.
So tell me a little bit more of that, because I think that's a vital part of the process, especially doing plant medicine. If you don't know how to surrender,
it makes it tough.
It makes it tough, and one of the lessons is learning to surrender.
Correct.
So, what brought about that understanding in your session when you were doing it?
In the breath work. I find myself trying to do things just the right way. And the fact that I think there was a point in the session where I didn't know if I was doing it the right way or not, but I was experiencing something profound. And so I realized that the whatever's doing this to me is on my side, and that I don't have to make this happen. It's just going to happen, and if I let go and surrender to it, then it will happen even easier. And it was easy. The whole week's been easy. And not everyone said this on here. Not to say that that there wasn't parts where I had to consciously choose ease, but I think that kind of set the framework to say, if I just surrender to the process, then this will all go well.
Nice. So that really, not only with a frame of happiness, but a frame of surrender, recognizing to go into your week with a sense of surrender, and it will all go well. So that likely is why it did go so well for you, versus some of the others who have had more difficult experiences. Largely, I've seen anyway, watching dozens and dozens of people go through here, that it's that surrender piece that really is, the more we resist our experiences,
the more painful.
The more painful it is. It's like the pain doesn't come out of the experience as much as it comes out of the resistance to that experience.
Right.
As soon as we can let that go,
it flows.
Yeah, and so you experience that firsthand. Good.
Yeah, all week.
So then let's skip to, we'll touch a little bit on your plant medicine ceremonies, but they happen. This was your first night. Then you do plant medicine ceremony 1, 2, 3, 4. Come to the end of the week now. Just last night, basically. let's say in a nutshell about your plant medicine ceremonies, is there any specific nugget that came out of that?
That's a hard question. Any specific nugget?
Well, just
as it relates to.
Well, just as it relates to what you came here to achieve.
Yeah. So what I said, my intention was to get. I think one of my biggest intentions was just to see a reality. Or experience something that, because there's a lot of people that talk about different things, supernatural things, or experiencing God in just really profound ways, or they feel His presence, they see Him, they see, or whatever, something like that. And I'm just like, I don't know that I've ever had that before. So, so I think I definitely got that during the week. I learned a lot about who I am. Not in the sense of getting visions of my past, not seeing my childhood, not seeing, past life, anything like that other people will, but it was just getting a really strong sense of my current state of being, and of happiness, because I question sometimes. Here's, I'll give you this. This is one thing that is very profound for me that I didn't think was profound. My first 2 nights of ceremony, I didn't have any crazy visions, and I was hearing other people's visions and stuff, and a little bit of journey envy. Yeah, and because there was a little bit of expectation for me, a little bit of non-surrender to what was going to happen, the way my journey was going to look. And what I found was that the fact that I was so happy and just smiling and laughing the whole time. And then even the 3rd night, I was sitting outside talking to someone, even though you're not supposed to talk during the ceremony. I was like, this is all so easy. It's all so easy. And that helped her, based on where she was, she was just enjoying the beauty of the outside, so she wasn't deep in any kind of process. And so, but I just realized that even though other people around me are having, their, purging, which I know you haven't talked about that as yet, or having that resistance or stuff like that, I don't have to. And so that's just a really beautiful thing that in life I've just learned that I can be happy. And I have doubted in the past whether my happiness was authentic. Whether I was just burying some stuff, some deep-rooted stuff, and just putting on a fake smile, which of course I have. But on a deep level, I have cultivated a lot of happiness, and I am truly happy, and that's what came up. That's who I am.
That showed up in
the course of my ceremony the whole time. I was happy. I didn't need to go through the depths of hell in order to experience heaven. Some people did. A lot of people did.
Right. Well, that's good. Well, it speaks a lot to the work you've done in advance, that you cleared a lot of that pathway out so you could just make that straight shot to the top rather than do a lot of heavy machinery lifting, getting those boulders out of the way, and all that kind of stuff.
Which I'm thankful for. At the time, I was like, I kind of wanted to lift some boulders. I guess I didn't need to.
So then you get to the end of the week, and it's breathwork time again, and you describe the scenario going into it. Did you have any expectations? Did you feel disappointed that certain the things that we mark as our miracles, show me who I become, which I think you did get, but
right.
Merge with my soul, heal me with my heart, hadn't quite shown up yet by that point.
Yeah. So. So what I experienced going into it, I think my expectations were, I didn't expect any miracles. I know that. I didn't expect to get any of merging the soul or heal my heart or any visions, for sure no visions, because I hadn't experienced visions on plant medicine, how I'm going to experience them on my breath, right? And then would you like me to talk about my experience?
Yeah,
of that? Yeah. Okay. So, so I was doing the breathing, and getting help with that and stuff, and getting some energy out. There's still some energy that needed to be let out, and then there was just bliss. There was just bliss, and I opened my eyes. This was midway through the ceremony, probably, and my breath just shortened. It wasn't as deep. It was soft, it was light, and I just watched. There was lightning going on outside, and I just watched. Just watched the lightning, and experienced people around me. There was once again some people crying. The person next to me was, going really deep into it, where he was, it was breathing him in a very, very, very fast rock way, but it was all okay. And when I surrendered in that moment, I closed my eyes again, and I got one of my miracles. My heart was healed. My heart was healed, and I got a new heart. I felt my chest. I think my hands were up here. I felt like I was kind of peeling away to the cavity, my chest cavity. I didn't see it come out or anything, but I felt kind of an emptiness in there. Not there was no feelings attached to it, but it's just like I felt, and I couldn't really feel my heart. Obviously, it was in my body, but in this vision, it wasn't actually there. And so I got a vision of Mother Ayahuasca that I had gotten prior. She showed herself only once prior in the week, which I was hoping to have conversations with her during the week, but there was no conversations with any visions. Or
so you saw Mother Ayahuasca in breathwork.
In breathwork, she showed up as a golden cat statue. Right, Egyptian in a way. And I felt my heartbeat again, and I said, "Where did it go?" And I got the inclination that my heart was taken to the sun and healed that way, and it came back as gold, and that it had tremendous power in it, and that it had the ability to heal the things that we need to heal after this week. So very, very interesting through just breathing that was able to come.
Wow. Yeah. So what is your opinion of breathwork now that you've experienced it just 2 times basically, but one in the front end, one in the tail end, both very powerful experiences.
Yeah.
What would you tell others about breathwork or its power?
Yeah. Well, I was thinking right afterwards, there's a girl I'm seeing right now, Megan, who's probably on this chat. Hi, Megan. And I was like, man, I want her to experience this. So there's I think that any of us can experience that profound if you're willing to do that work and to surrender to that process and realize that anything can happen in that process, because I think we put a lot of limits on ourselves as far as what's possible. To say I can't experience something profound like that. Like that's just his story during just breathing really deeply. But no, I think our intentions are very clear, and I held space prior to going to that ceremony, the breathwork ceremony, that anything can happen. I didn't expect one of those miracles to happen. In fact, I thought I've gotten miracles that I needed for the week, but if you hold space for that to happen, then anything can happen. It's just about the intention you put into it, I think.
Right. So intention, believe that it's possible. Do the process, actually breathe, and
right.
So how would you say the breathwork differs from everyday breathing? What's the difference in your explanation?
Well, you talked about this. Our everyday breathing is generally very shallow. And we're in our head a lot, so we're not even thinking about breathing. So when you allow your breath to deepen, and I guess this is just a very specific way to do it, that's probably been passed down through the centuries, that people have realized probably via their own meditations, they've gone to these places, just their breath has probably just naturally found this place, and then it's been systematized. I'm sure that's, kind of how it's been brought down. So we, even the people that don't, meditate for years and get this insight can do this. What was the question? Sorry.
Just how you would explain breathwork to somebody that, how this breathing technique would be different from everyday breathing. So somebody comes to you, they're like, you breathed and you breathed and you got a golden new heart. You breathed and you felt this blissful peace. What did you do differently than normal everyday breathing?
Right. So I think the environment is really important. We're in an environment of intention, where you're intentionally doing the breathing, you're feeling the breathing of other people. You're getting the facilitators are coming around and helping, to get the breath in a state that is going to be good for you. And every person, I guess, needs something different. So, so every person is being worked on differently. I was given a little plastic thing to put in my mouth that would help my mouth stay open. So I guess I wasn't keeping my mouth open very much, and you guys are, going around and helping and talking, kind of figuring out what each person needs and stuff. So the way it's different than everyday breathing, I think, is just the deepness of breath is probably what you're looking for. You're breathing from your diaphragm, and you're letting go, you're releasing easily, just like life. You breathe in life deeply, and then you release whatever needs to go just easily because it doesn't need to stay there. So
good, you got the metaphor.
I got the metaphor. I got it, man. Yeah.
Good. Well, excellent. So at this stage of the game, maybe let's look and see in the comments section here if we can get back to the beginning and just say a lot of people saying hello. Dave's saying, I'm here, bro. Good. Hello from Florida. And Deborah's here. And so the Great White North Ontario, George Bell's there, Cats. So far this is all the beginning. Let's see if we can, it's like tuning in for Michael Jackson and getting Janet Jackson. Yeah, that's the getting me instead of Gerry, basically. Debbie, yay, more Christian, one of my #1 fans there. So she's happy whether Michael or Jackson is or Janet is there. Join. Okay, so nobody's really asked any questions. Of course, if you do have any questions or comments, please answer or ask them. Miranda's saying going August 12th. Told us an all women's group. Good question. I hadn't heard whether there's an all women's group, but that would be a new and something cool. I don't know if I'll be invited to that one. Then so we'll have to see. Carolyn, you're doing a beautiful job here, Christian. Thanks, Carolyn. I can use as many of those kind of comments as you can give out.
So Claudia says no visions at all. I'm assuming she's talking about what I said about during the ayahuasca. And I did have some visions. It wasn't the visions I expected. I think this is mainly what I was referring to. So
that's a good thing to bring up. Expectations.
Yeah. Right. Well, which is why I perceived I wasn't getting my miracle the first couple of days. Is because the miracle that I expected wasn't necessarily the miracle that I was getting the way I thought it was going to look. So even though I thought I didn't come in with expectations, they're subconsciously there.
Yeah, right. Well, good point. Because we even from the beginning, we coach you all to recognize that. I mean, Gerry schooled me on this, which I think is profound. I used to come in not having, saying I'm not going to have any expectations, therefore. Right. I won't be disappointed if nothing happens,
right.
And whatever happens will be beyond my expectations because I don't have it.
Right.
Well, that's a recipe for getting little results.
Yeah.
And, maybe you can rejoice in those little results to whatever degree, but they're just little.
Right.
So he's like, no, you got to expect your miracle to happen. And that's one of the most fundamental parts of why we have a 95% success rate with our miracles. Because people have to fully engage with their own miracle, expect it to happen, know that what you're shooting for is going to happen.
Right.
Of course, that being said, then wipe away all expectations
of the way it's going to look.
Of the way it's going to look, exactly.
Right.
And I think that's what you're speaking to here. Is you thought it was going to look some way, even though we told you all this.
Right.
You still
it's unconsciously.
Yeah. Which I think is good to bring up in this forum because. There's nothing wrong with that, and that is what this process is all about. Really uncovering our unconscious habits, our unconscious thought patterns, the unconscious way we've been on autopilot for so long. That's been getting us the results that we haven't been completely satisfied with.
Right.
And now this is an opportunity to uncover that stuff them start to choose a whole new direction.
Right. Well, I want to say one thing to Claudia's thing as well. You said no visions at all. I think if you're coming for the visions, you might be disappointed, because even they were saying for Taitro, this I'm saying that right. Taita, sorry.
And Taita is our sort of grandfather shaman, the one who comes from the depth of the Colombian tradition and has been doing this since he was like 9 years old or something like that. So he comes about 4 times a year here to do it. But
he didn't have his first vision until 5 years in.
Yeah,
to
so he was
doing plant
medicine,
medicine. Yeah. So I think some people in the group were expecting that pretty strongly, for it to look a certain way. Maybe they'd experienced other like hallucinogens or something before and expected to go to those kind of places or something like that. And that's what I kind of expected. I've never done any kind of drug or anything like that, or plant medicine or anything before. So that's what I just heard about other people's experiences. So I just kind of overlaid that onto what I thought this was going to be like. But I think that is a dangerous thing to do, because what came to me was perfect for me, and it was exactly what I needed.
Well, that's you make a good interviewee, because that's kind of how we hope it happens for most people, and how it usually ends up. Again, the more painful it is the more people hold on to their idea of what they want it to look like. And finally, you can either let go early and then enjoy the ride, or hold on all the way and finally let go at the end and then finally get what you came for. Either way, you're going to get what you came for. It's just a matter of how painful you want the experience.
Right.
Well, let's see what else. So that's Claudia's, Barbara. Claudia says, I can't wait to experience this.
It's like TM. So I practice TM.
So is this like
the breath work probably is what she's referring to, like TM. There's some advanced levels of TM that where I think it's a city program where you have a certain breath practice, but during TM you don't have a certain breath practice. So it's just a matter of calming the mind, and using the mantra to slow down into that state of pure consciousness. But this is definitely, I would say, actually probably the opposite. You're almost you're activating things in order to then to go to that place. So it's almost the opposite in a way, from my experience.
Well, I would agree. I was a monk for 10 years, as we've been talking about, and for the studio audience out there, where meditation is about calming everything down and getting into the very quiet space. The breath work actually works with activating your energies and dredging up anything that's actively kind of discordant in you. So sometimes the experience will be very much a catharsis, a release of stuff. But the end result, I would say, is very similar. Like you experienced the open, blissful state, or states of deep peace or deep calmness. These are the general results of meditation that we're looking for. But they're two different vehicles for getting there. Meditation's a little bit more disciplined and a little bit more, to the point. The breathwork allows for a lot more, body movement. You don't have to worry about where your mind is at. You just let those things happen. You do, but you can kind of get to the same place.
Right. After my TM sessions, I'm usually very relaxed and centered. After this, I was laughing and happy, and like stuff like that. So I think it did create a different energy within me. I don't come out of my TM sessions, like
exuberantly.
Right. Good. Feeling good, but not exhilarated, not like I've released a ton of stuff. But the release does happen during TM. So stuff is getting released regardless. It's just a matter of how it's getting released. So
right on. All right, watching from Nebraska. Are you going to be the next guy that comes out here?
I was keeping him updated.
Really? Do you know Will?
I do know Will.
Okay, excellent. Tom, more I listen, the more I'm convinced I could come. Yeah, excellent.
The convinced I could come.
Anything like TM, we answered that. Question about surrendering. Any tips on how to overcome fears? I know you you didn't have a rough ride. So
I saw Adam on here before, actually.
Yeah. Any tips on how to deal with fear? How do you surrender to fear when it comes up? Did you have any?
Mm-hmm. I think you just kind of go ahead in. I did have a time during the week that I had a fear. I don't know if I need to go into this story in order to explain this, but there was a time where I was sitting up in an area where there was a lot of people around me, and I was feeling a lot of their energies. And someone there needed to purge. Purging is the letting go of energy via puke. Was that okay? Yeah, was that a good way to? Yeah, was that a good way to explain it?
Maybe you can apply for a position as an interview.
Yeah. And so I was sitting up there with one of the shamans in training, and feeling all their energy. And really, the shaman is kind of facilitating the energy flow of the room, I think, a bit, and kind of the energy is flowing through them and kind of out. They're kind of helping manage that. So I was sitting up there with them, actually receiving the energy. And I was actually getting the energy of the people on that side of the room, and they needed to purge. They needed, and for those of you that are tuning, this might sound a little weird, but I realized in that moment that either I could go outside and release that energy and ground that energy, or I could actually let myself purge for them. And that was a beautiful surrendering moment. So I think when you come to that time in your process, when you need to face that head on, whether that's in ceremony, whether that's outside of ceremony, whether it's coming into ceremony, I think if you just realize that that's there, because you can't face it unless you realize that it's there.
Tell us from your perspective, what were you doing? And this is fear we're talking about here, right? So fear is coming up in this moment,
mm-hmm.
and like, what is it that you did to move through that?
I just realized that it was necessary for me to go through that. Fear isn't a bad thing. I realized that I had the option. I realized that I had the option to either leave the room or embrace that. And I chose to embrace it. So does that answer your question?
Yeah. It plays in a lot to my philosophy on fear, which is and courage. That courage is not the absence of fear. That fear actually, I don't think in life we will ever completely eliminate fear. Fear is just a natural, one of our natural emotions.
Mm-hmm.
But courage is to be able to act in spite of that fear. To feel that fear come up and recognize, as one of my spiritual teachers would always say, fear is the compass needle pointing north. So when you reframe fear to that way, that you know that whenever you feel a fear, you move in that direction, which is essentially what you did, whether that was your cognitive process or not. It's like this thing is challenging me in a way. Mm-hmm. That's the direction I'm going to go, not the direction to avoid it, the direction head on into it.
Yeah.
And what I've noticed with fear, primarily with fear, is that as you move towards it, it's like the image of a dragon projected on a fog bank. From far back, it looks like a menacing dragon. And the more distance you stay from it, the scarier it is, because it looks real. The closer you get to it, if you just go head on to it, eventually you go right through the fog and you realize that there's no dragon at all. It's just a projection. And that's usually what most of our fears are, projections of our consciousness, of the worst case scenarios going on. And as we move towards it and through it, that projection evaporates, and we recognize that actually very little of that was the reality.
Right. Very good.
All right. Some of us had expectation that things won't go well for us for our whole lives, though. You got to change that expectation, and Susan, that's you have a choice to expect great things or expect not great things. Whatever you expect will happen, and so if you're not expecting those great things, then you're going to get those not great things. Claudia, I expect she has been knocking on my door. Mother Aya, we're going to journey. Great, Claudia. Tom, what is it? to meet Mother Ayahuasca? You wanna? Yeah. So you said you met her in breathwork, though. So.
Yeah. Well, and during the week at some points, but yeah, it wasn't like a woman, that came to me, but it was a certain. Maybe I'm not the best one to talk about this because.
Well, you are, because this is your experience.
Because of my experience.
So just know that there's many ways to meet Mother Ayahuasca. This is the way that you. What was it like for you?
Yeah. It's hard to put into words because it wasn't, a certain vision. I guess, there was kind of, in my first drink each night, my mind would start to kind of, I would kind of have that maybe, what might be like a LSD experience, or something, where you're just kind of getting some, visions and stuff like that. And that's when at one point, I met that cat figure and I was like, oh, this feels like it's Mother Ayahuasca's energy and stuff. But really, it was the essence of just the growth. She manifested herself in my growth this week and in what I became in the process. And so that's how I met her. It was just through it's even weird to call it a her for me. Because,
well, in a way, we're personifying an experience, essentially. We're personifying a plant, and then we're personifying an experience that this plant is, which, again, there's nothing wrong with that. It helps us to relate to it. And so
But there was a feminine energy that I got in tune with this week. And I think that was it, especially on the Divine Feminine Night, which is Wednesday. The women shaman are the ones that facilitate that, and I fell in love with the feminine energy that night. And there's a lot of healing in that arena. So even on the masculine night, the Thursday night, they say it's more masculine. I still really embrace the feminine, So I think this week gave a lot of healing for the feminine energy within myself and then within other people, and just appreciating and valuing that. So
it sounds like meeting Mother Ayahuasca was the sense of this embraced feminine energy and this sense of her being present in your growth experiences.
Yeah.
Great. All right. Paula arriving. Excellent. Great. Lark. I remember years ago doing rebirthing breathwork, and it was profoundly transformative. Sounds similar? Yes. I'm looking forward to experiencing all the magical combination, transformation, and alignment. The high I'm in here, hopefully, and yes, this is what we do here is the transformational breath. That's the school that I was taught in, and Nicole, who are the two directors here. But rebirthing, holotropic breath, clarity breath work, transformational breath, they all come from this modern wave of understanding the power of the breath and the techniques. So definitely very similar. Oh God, Tida was there, I missed him. No, Tida wasn't here this week. He was just referring to him. He was here back in February. He is coming again in May, coming again in October and December. So if you want to meet up with him, book for one of those dates, Claudia. Call the number up above to find out exactly what those dates are. Great explanation. Excellent. Thanks. Hi from North Carolina. Joined. All right. Hello from Colorado. Still doing your 100 breaths. Excellent, Eileen. Just keep it up. Great advice. Appreciate it. Thanks, Adam. And so here we are. Josh Trent joined too. Hey, Josh. Shout out to Josh Trent of Wellness Force. He was here. Were you here during the Taita week? No, I think it was, a couple weeks after that. He came in, did an interview with me, did an interview with Gerry, with Dr. Jeff. So those will be up on the Wellness Force site soon, I believe. If you want to go ahead and type in where people will find that when it actually happens there, Josh. And Carmen, last question so far. Is the plant medicine similar to DMT? Not that I know much about that, just curious. Well, the plant medicine is DMT. So what you might be talking about DMT may be the concentrated DMT. The active ingredient in the plant medicine in ayahuasca is DMT. So we combine a leaf and a root, and in that, one of them has an inhibitor, something that inhibits the enzymes in our stomach that would normally break down the DMT before it got into our bloodstream. So we got to inhibit those enzymes, and then the other part of the plant has the DMT, and it gets absorbed into the bloodstream and then starts to affect our consciousness. DMT, the concentrated thing, is something that you take. I know probably the most common form is to smoke it. You can also lick the back of a frog. They do that out in the Amazon jungles and all that. A special frog, not just any frog. And that gives you a supercharged, basically 20-minute trip. The ayahuasca generally lasts about 2 or 3 hours, and then if you take multiple drinks throughout the night, come to a 6 to 8 hour journey, which is typically what we do here, except for the last night, which is all night long. Open bar. So hopefully that answers that question. And so that brings us to the end of the questions, which is good. And, it's getting to the top of the hour here, which is where I like to bring this stuff to completion. So I appreciate you really giving your perspective on the breath work, especially the breathwork side of the program. Of course, you experienced the whole program. We got in a little bit of your plant medicine experiences too, so thank you for that. And again, we did this segment because we're starting a breathwork week where a lot of people recognize the power of breath, especially after leaving here, and then want to go deeper into that. Other people, for whatever reason, if you're on certain medications or you've got certain physical ailments like heart conditions or high blood pressure or something, some of these things preclude you from actually being able to do the plant medicine. And we want you to know that the experience is still available to you. You don't have to necessarily do the plant medicine. You can still get this experience through breath work. And that's why we're doing these 1 week a month of breath work alone, breath ceremonies versus breath and plant ceremonies. For those of you who can do the plant ceremonies, of course, you're going to come here and you're going to get to experience the breath work. And to me, that's a great introduction to it, because most people actually come here knowing more about plant medicine than they know about their breath, which to me is crazy, but I understand it, because before I knew about breath work, I knew more about psychedelic medicines than I did about breath too. But then you get opened up with the plant medicine, and then you experience the same thing with breath work, and something clicks. It's like, oh, I've got the power all within inside me. And right. That's what I hope that people take away with them about breathwork, is that I have that inside me and I can continue to use it beyond the walls of Rythmia. And do you think you'll continue on with breathwork beyond these walls? I hope you say yes. Right on, Daniel. We'll put it here. Thanks a lot for joining us. Dave says, thanks, guys. One day I'll go there. One more question up here. Where is it? How important is the setting, the guidance? All right. Spiritual, physical, mental support.
Set and setting kind of thing.
Yeah, I'll let you answer that. I've definitely got an answer to that. But you were the guest here this week, so how did you feel about how important was all of the context versus could you just go out there and do plant medicine in somebody's living room, or could you go just do breath work, in some random place? Or do you,
well, I'll say this: even there's a guy that came, Paul, he came Saturday, and he joined us for breath work. So he wasn't with us all week. He came at the end of the week, and he said the energy in that room during breath work was just incredible, which I think is true. And so even during the ayahuasca, so the guidance, the spirituality, all that stuff, it's being facilitated and it's being the energy is being, it's like it's flowing throughout the room, and you're feeling the energy of other people, and you're working together, even though you're not talking. You're doing the journey with them and working together with them and with the shaman. The shaman is helping to move that energy and to heal the things that can be healed. And you're also taking part in other people's healing. So, so I think the set and the setting is very important in experiencing the transformation that is to come with it. Yeah.
Think about it this way. If you're going to learn guitar or piano or violin, you could do it at home and maybe even have a teacher on the side or whatever. Or you could go to Juilliard Music School, be surrounded by other musicians, be taught by teachers who have been in their instrument, in their particular field for many, many years and are experts in that. And which one do you think is going to give you the better experience of learning how to play an instrument, right? So the same way here, Rythmia is really set up to be an environment that holds a safe container. We're the only place where we're actually licensed medical facility to administer ayahuasca. So we're legal, we're safe because we have a medical doctor on staff 24/7. We have a psychological doctor on staff 24/7. We've got a lot of support staff to help you in softer ways through coaching you through, you woke up after a pretty rough experience and you don't want to go back, but what's going on in your mind and how can we work through that to get you to see things from a brighter perspective. And then we've got just the contained environment that's very comfortable, and the vibe has been accumulating here. One thing my spiritual teacher would say is, find a place to meditate and meditate in that same place every day, because you start to create an energetic container for that meditation there. So the same way here at Rythmia, week after week, 50, 60, 70, 80 people show up and they go deep. They come to greater areas of realization, and they leave behind that vibration, and that keeps on working. So with that, let's see. Sorry, somebody's trying to message me while we're all talking. Is yoga accessible for beginners too? Yeah, very much so. The yoga is a very beginner-oriented. Did you do yoga?
Yeah,
so,
I'm a beginner.
So did you like the yoga?
Yeah, it's very easy. I'm not flexible. I can't touch my toes, without bending my knees all the way down.
And so you still went, and
I went every time except for one morning, and it's great. It's a great way to, as the week goes on too, as you're getting more in tune with your body, you're getting more in tune with your experience, and all that stuff. The yoga just feels better and better, just because you're more in your body, and you realize your body has a lot of stuff to release and a lot of stuff to enjoy, and so the yoga is very good. Yeah, right. Even as a beginner, Adam.
All right, Adam, great. Thanks. All right, I think we got it. Right on. Once again, Daniel, thanks. And all you out there who wanted to hear the just pure plant medicine version, I've got another thing I'll be posting on the Rythmia page in conjunction with this. So until next week, we'll see y'all. Namaste.
Namaste.